to be here, to return here to Toronto and deliver this poem with all the energy of the ancestors.
Making me wait for her to take her sweet time to do her hair and makeup. Every day she make the same mistake of letting herself think that if she...
This week marks Black Mental Health Week, and words can sometimes be soothing for the mind and soul. And a group of some of the world's best spoken artists are gathering in the city for When Sisters Speak.
So joining us live now for a look at what's in store on March the 9th is Dwayne Morgan himself, a multiple-time spoken word champion and also an appointee of the Order of Ontario for 2023. Dwayne, great of you to come in this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Pardon me, I'm just battling a little something in my throat. Now, you've been providing this important platform for Black women for over 24 years now, and this year you're bringing in 6 women, some from the U.S., some from Toronto. Why did you decide to start When Sisters Speak?
Well, originally I started a show called When Brothers Speak, which was for Black men, because I felt that so many of the shows and experiences we were having, it was hard to really express certain things when there's, other people on stage and stuff. There wasn't really a space where we could just talk about what we were going through. So I created a space for Black men and thought that, somebody would see the success of that and be like, oh, let's do this for women. And I didn't want to take up that space. But then when nobody did, I was like, well, I see how important this is, so let me do it. So then I created When Sisters Speak as a complement to the When Brothers Speak show.
Wow.
And Dwayne, maybe you can sort of explain to some people kind of about the evolution of spoken word, because, some people, you hear that and some people, oh, is this like slam poetry? Talk a little bit about what you're going to be hearing, what you're going to be experiencing and seeing.
So it's really like, if you went to a hip hop concert without the music, in a sense. It's just artists who are on stage who, in the same way that a stand-up comedian does, has to be able to connect with their audience just through their words, through their story. So it's very dynamic, it's very performance driven. It's not the poetry we learned in school. It's very much call and response and audience engagement. So it's I call it a spoken word concert because it has that kind of vibe to it where the audience really gets into it and the artists really put a lot of themselves into what they do on the stage.
Okay, so Dwayne, tell us about some of the women that are going to be participating on March 9th, and how do you select and curate, the women to come speak?
Well, I think I'm lucky in the sense that I get to perform a lot. So as I'm traveling to different places, I'm like, ooh, I really like this person or that person. Let me see if I can get them, onto the show. So this one is great. We have Queen Sheba, who's coming from Atlanta, and she was just nominated for a Grammy for Best Spoken Word Recording in this year's Grammys. Wow. We have an artist called The Flow Assist, who was one half of a group called Flowetry that was pretty big in the early 2000s, and she has 5 Grammy nominations for her work. We have someone coming from Orlando who is a 2021 Women of the World Poetry Slam champion. We have Shelley Grace from Toronto, who's a national champion. And then we have 2 young people, the 2 youngest women to ever perform on the show, Hannah Flores and Shahada Jack. And I actually do a poetry slam with the York Region School Board. So I met Hannah when she was in grade 7 or 8.
Wow.
And she was performing, as a student coming up. And now she's at U of T and she's, writing poems for the Raptors and stuff. So it's just really great to be able to provide these outlets and opportunities.
Yeah, and what an opportunity for you to sort of scout and see all the talent that's out there and then sort of bring it all together for the audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Dwayne, while we have you here, though, I know we're talking about When Sisters Speak, but I want to talk about you being an appointee now to the Order of Ontario, the significance of that to you, how you feel as the Order of Appointee, and what you hope to do as a member of the Order now.
Well, it's a very humbling thing because it's sometimes you do this work and who cares? Does this even matter?
Right.
So, when you get such an honor, from the province and it's okay, so all of this work that I've been doing that, sometimes nobody understands, that sometimes, family and friends are upset because you're missing certain things, all the sacrifices were worthwhile. They make sense. So I think me receiving this, it's also a beacon of hope for, other young people who might be charting paths that are unconventional because, my parents are immigrants from Jamaica and saying that you want to be an artist is not something that they want to hear. It's doctor, lawyer, engineer kind of thing, right? So it's one of those things where it allows other people to imagine what is possible. And I think using myself as an example of that is the greatest thing that I could do with this appointment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Dwayne, just to mention, it is Black Mental Health Awareness Week, March 4th to the 10th. And I just want to ask you very quickly, through your journey doing spoken word, watching these performers perform, have you learned anything about yourself? Have you been, I'm sure you have, but brought to tears when listening to some of these stories? And that really can help with the mental health aspect, right?
Absolutely. And I think, one of the things that's beautiful about a show like this is that sometimes there are people in the audience who experience things that they're keeping to themselves. They have no idea anyone else has gone through these things. And then they hear a poem about something that they've gone through. And they're like, this person is like telling my life, my journey, I've had that experience, but I just never knew how to articulate it. And now here it is. So now I'm not alone in this. Now I'm hearing somebody else who's gone through it, and you can get strength from that. And you can be like, all right, you know what? I'm not the only one, so I can persevere through this. So definitely, when you sit there, you hear so many stories, and the women talk about so many different things that no matter who you are, you're going to connect to something that each woman does.
I'll tell you, one of the clips I heard of yours last night really resonated with me. Dwayne Morgan, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck on Saturday with this event on the 9th.
Thank
Appreciate
you so
this.
much.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.